My name is Bridget McCallum, and I'm chair of the trustees here at Waterboro Public Library, and I have been for somewhere around 20 years. And I love this library, this two-room schoolhouse that was built 100 years ago this year. So today a bunch of us have gathered to just think about 100 years in this building and to maybe learn a little more about it and to share some of the experience that we have had here. So I said I've been a trustee here and I've seen it through a lot of changes in these 20 years. And during that time we actually tried to build a new library. And so many people while we were trying to build a new library would say, but I'd like it to have the feel of the current one. And I'm thinking, how do you build a modern new library with the feel of a 100-year-old two-room schoolhouse? That would have been a challenge, but as we all know, that due to many different circumstances did not come to be, so therefore we are able to celebrate 100 years in this building. So welcome everybody. I'm really glad you're here, and you may have stories to tell afterwards. And so right now we have Bob Powers, who was superintendent of the school district and has history in this building. We have Betty Champion, who in fact had a vision for having a library in Waterboro when the bookmobile stopped coming around from Portland or Augusta.
It was Augusta.
Augusta. And knew that how many people came here every week to the store that they had, which is now Kirin Japanese restaurant, right? Champion store?
That's right, yeah.
So Betty and her husband John ran Champion Store, which was the post office, the bookmobile stop, and a store. You have to stop me if I say something wrong, because I'm just, this is what I've heard, folks. I wasn't here. And Betty said, we need to do this, and being a member of the Lioness Club, that was before the Lions were men and women, they had the Lions Club and the Lioness Club, said we need a library. And so her portrait is over there on that wall, but it's been hanging in this adult room for about 20 years, and people say, who is that? Why is her picture there? So now, in honor of the centennial, we also made a plaque that says it's Betty Champion. And so now people will know. And we have Vicki LePage Carroll, who was Mrs. Carroll. And some of you, a student of yours is right over by the wall. Very cool. And her next generation maybe, or very cool. And we may have one or two other people, and we may not, but we will be who we will be. So, Bob, could you kind of get us started with what you remember, what stands out for you around this building? And
I'll try.
thank you very much. Bob Powers.
Bridget asked me to talk about the overall educational program and how this building, educational program in Waterboro, and how this building kind of fit into it. Prior to 1966, Waterboro was in a school union of 7 towns: Alfred, Limerick, Lyman, Newfield, Shapley, and Acton. And just about all of the towns didn't have a high school except for Limerick. So all of the towns sent their high school age students all over the place. Most of Waterboro's, Alfred's, Newfields, and Shapley's went to Sanford, and Lyman's went to Kennebunk, and so forth. In 1965, Sanford announced that it wasn't going to take tuition students after the 1967-68 school year. So people started to say, what are we going to do? So the 7 towns in the school unit, and let me explain what a school unit is. A school unit is a individual educational unit that has a school board and shares the superintendent with all the other towns that have the same kind of organization. So they decided to form a district, voted, and all 6 towns that are currently in the district opted in, but Acton opted out. And the thinking from the other 6 towns was that Acton opted out because they thought if the other towns formed their district, Sanford would let them stay in there, but that didn't happen. This building housed, early on, when after the district was formed in 1966, and I was hired essentially to run the elementary schools and to try to coordinate them, because essentially what you had was 6 individual school systems that had their own different programs, no consistency at all among the 6 different towns. And my charge was to coordinate things, which was fun. This building early on held grades 1 and 2, and then 3 to 8 were at the building on Main Street in Waterboro. In '65, after Sanford announced that it was going to not have any more tuition students, the school system got together, said 57, and hurriedly built had a school design, and it was going to be located at Ross Corner. Well, that's when the wheels fell off, because the people in the southern part of the district had some concerns about Ross Corner being so far from where they lived, and the people in the north had concerns about building something further south, and they almost dissolved. But then level heads prevailed, and compromise, which we don't hear much about today, resulted, and the superintendent, Carol Ronco, was hired in '66, and his job was to get a school designed and constructed. That school, though, was voted down. And when it was voted down, we just had all kinds of challenges. Going on at the same time that this was taking place, this whole area had a population explosion. And in a 10-year period, the school population in this general area grew by about 110%. And that's when you had all the subdivisions, and Lake Arrowhead was getting started, and it was just chaos trying to keep up with no high school, except for Limerick, and a bunch of elementary schools that kind of went their own way ever since they've been conceived how many years ago. So in 1966, we started again, and they hired an architect, designed a school, developed curriculums, because we didn't have any curriculum except for what was offered at the 4-teacher high school in Limerick. And at the elementary level, we didn't have any comprehensive programs. There was no art, no music, no phys ed, no library, no kindergarten. So all that stuff had to get into the preliminary works. The population issue was a major concern, and eventually they got a school conceived and it was built, and then we started moving into it. A major job was getting the communities to look at the new facility as their own, and one of the biggest lapses that existed before the creation of the district was that there was no logical way for these students who participated in attended other schools to get involved in activities, because transportation, time, whatever. So one of the primary goals of the school system was to provide coordinated activities and develop transportation so that kids from the 6 different towns could participate. And that was a real challenge. My job, and one of my jobs initially, was to develop bus routes for the 6 towns. And we only, when the district was formed, they only owned 1 school bus, and that was in Chaplin. So we had to contract with whoever would take contracts, and that was a real challenge, coordinating all that stuff. The building itself was, a really good building. It was, I would say, designed in a real fast track. We hired an architectural firm from Augusta, and I remember at one meeting, they said, "Oh, you want to open this in 1969, and you expect us to get this done?" And we said, "Yeah, we do. Get moving on it." And they did a decent job. We developed the curriculum, and it was comprehensive. We stole staff, if you would, from any place that would come here, because we had students who were attending 22 different high schools before Massabesic was opened. And trying to get that facility working as a cohesive unit was a real challenge. This building was an educational component of the system in a variety of ways that Bridget outlined briefly. But generally, overall, it was always some kind of an educational facility. I remember they used to cook the lunches here for the other school, and then they would ship them over to the school every noontime. It was quite a challenge. I would say that the bottom line for all of this was that the whole community was educationally oriented, and you knew by the existence of the library and their efforts to have a library and to provide services that they wanted to get up to date with the times. And there were a lot of good, hardworking, conscientious people who participated in getting the system, the school system, up to date. And Waterboro's role in it was always prominent. And this facility was part of it for forever. We had all kinds of meetings here. We had lots of children who went to school here, some great teachers. And it was just a real experience for me. And I enjoyed every minute of working with the people and the community here. So I'll be happy to fill in any holes that I didn't think of, but that's just an overview of what I saw as the educational system and this building's role in it.
Great, Bob, thank you. Where were your offices? You said you were upstairs and down. I'm trying to
Well,
envision, how is this building?
The front room was my office,
Which side of the building?
facing the street.
But there are 2 rooms.
Pardon?
There are 2 rooms, like it's now the
Well, it was
adult.
one at that point.
Everything upstairs was
No.
one room?
There was a box that they built with paneling, which was the superintendent's office.
Okay.
And then the other part of it was where the staff operated, secretaries and whatever.
And that was upstairs.
Upstairs, yeah.
Okay. Now you were downstairs also at some point, you said?
Oh, we had meetings down here. We had staff that met down here.
Uh-huh.
It served as a kitchen for quite a while for the elementary school.
For the elementary school that's there now,
No, for what's now
the medical center?
Lions Club.
Okay, the
Yeah,
Lions
yeah.
Club. So when he talks about the other school, it's what we think of as the Lions Club or Dr. Revere's
That was
office.
grades 3 to 8.
3 to 8.
Yeah.
At that time, because it was also a high school.
Yeah, but not before 1965.
So that's another whole history. We could have another meeting on the history of the medical center / Lions Club / library / school. Other questions for Bob? Well, thank you. Some
keep
may
it short
come.
enough?
Thank you, Bob. So, do we have chairs?
Just one.
There's a nice big comfy chair over here for somebody. And we have standing room. Hey, Jean, former librarian. Let's give it up for Jean. Woo! I'm sure a lot of you remember Jean. Is Ruth coming?
Ruth.
Yay, Ruth Blake is coming too. Hey, Phil. Good to see you. So Jean and Phil are, in terms of the library's history, mainstays here, staff almost ever, and Ruth Blake, okay. All right, Ruth. Yep, got a chair. Oh, I feel like we're really pulling it all together here now. Hey, Matt. Michelle. So, if before we go on, let's think now. Right now in this room, we have friends of the Waterboro Library. Who's friends? All right, friends of the Waterboro. Okay, officially meaning work on trying to build a new library, especially. So the friends who, yes. And now other friends who are not official friends. Yay! Good to mention. We have former staff of the library, Jean, Ruth, Pauline. Jill, right? It's good to see you. It's been quite a while. So, anybody else that I'm missing? 4 former staffs. Former trustee, Michelle, yay, who is director of the Kennybunk Library. She graduated from being a trustee. We taught her all we knew. Yay, we were lucky to have her for a while. Okay, other staff. Visionary of the library, Betty. I'm using that word and you probably think it's silly, but when someone says Waterboro needs a library, I call that person a visionary because they had a vision and they made it happen. And former teacher, we don't have any other former teachers, but we have the spirit of Mrs. Megason. And is this Paula by any chance? Wouldn't that be amazing if it were Paula?
Teacher.
Here comes the teacher.
Is it Paula?
Yep.
Let's give her a cheers. All right, Paula.
I am so embarrassed.
That's all right. You're just tardy once. But in 2 more minutes, you would have gotten 2 tardies.
I didn't know if all of a sudden I didn't
Oh,
know
here.
if it was 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. I'm sure somebody will understand that.
Well, it's good
I was
to
late.
model being human.
I was on time but late.
So you two can dicker, because the next thing that I was hoping to hear from was a teacher here. So since Paula just walked in, how about
All right, I'll try.
Vicki, LePage, Carol, who taught?
Kindergarten here.
Okay, go for it.
But I have to say, I felt like I was a youngster here till Mr. Powers started talking about everything, and I was remembering it. We started in 1965. It was like, I was 10. So I lived some of that as a student, going from the Limerick Elementary School to 3 classrooms in the basement for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then going to the wonderful Massapesic High School, because that was just incredible for us. Because we just went from this little school and 1 teacher a day to the world was open to us. I just felt like, oh my goodness, we were so excited. So my class was the first class to start in 1969. We started high school there, and I graduated from there in 73. So that was back when the school was two wings for the high school and 1 for the junior high. So then after that, I went to USM and became a teacher. And after a few years of teaching other places, I came here to teach kindergarten, which was really fun. So when that I came in a couple minutes late, I might have just had to hurry when I got to school because I had 3 kids to get to daycare, and there's always something somebody did to caused me to be a little late. And Charlotte Megason was here. She could cover for me, fortunately. I say, well, I couldn't find the pacifier this morning, and I had to. They spit it out on the side of the car, and I had to go back and bring it to them because you can't have a daycare without pacifier. So then I was here. Charlotte was on that side of the room, building, and I was on this side. So I actually had an interview for a teaching job in the co-room, which became my classroom. So my side was here, and one thing I remember is that my class was probably 25, 26, or 27 kindergartners twice a day. And I asked for that little box that was the superintendent's office to come down because I needed more space for all those little bodies. And so during the teaching day, the carpenters came in, tore the wall down, and I had my 25 kids in with Charlotte with her 25. And then we went outside, or we were able to stay outside a little bit longer back then. So that was an event, I have to say. All that dust, and the kids were like crying and whatever. And let's see what else. I was thinking that back in, I started here in 84, the fall of 83. It was such a different world. It was just such a different world. Peaceful, even with that many children, it was so much more peaceful. It was just a whole different world. We could go outside and play and just enjoy the day and enjoy the letter people and enjoy, all those things that we just did. And I just feel like when I had to move on to an all-day K or, we just went from being kind of peaceful to like, hurry up, we've got to learn so much more. And I think the kids always learned a lot, but I really loved this little building. And so I'm not a real big talker, so that's about all I've got.
Now I'm even more confused, because are you finished?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm trying to think, I was here from,
You were here before me,
I was there before you.
but see, I had Alicia in 82, and I took a year off. So I believe I came in the fall of 83. But it could have been 84. But I think it was 83. March of 82, took 82
I know,
and
we have to picture-
83, and so I came back in September of 83.
Okay, that's right,
So let me introduce Paula Netto, who will pick up
from
where
there.
Vicki left off.
Okay, I won't do dates yet, because I'm still putting them in my head. What I remember is I had been teaching in Biddeford, and then we bought a house here, the house I'm still living in. And I was going to take that year off. I was having a baby, and I was going to take that year off and be a stay-at-home mom. And I found it very quiet. So I started subbing to get my foot in the door. And then at the end of that year, they were interviewing teachers for a first grade position for the following year. So I interviewed, and I didn't get it. And then about a week later, I interviewed, and I got that position immediately. And I'm telling you that part because I'm sure some of you have had this experience before. When you go someplace for an interview, the people interviewing you can make all the difference in the world in what you show of yourself. And so I was hired, and I taught at what is now the Massabesic Medical Center for a year, and then they wanted somebody to come over here. That must be when or however it worked out. Charlotte was over here, and they wanted somebody to come and teach over here. And nobody wanted to do that. All day long with the kids, you don't get a break, you don't get lunch. I mean, that's what I remember, people not wanting to come over here. And I said, I'll go. I don't know why I did that, probably because I was new and would do anything to stay in. So I came over here, and I was here for 5 years. And I can reiterate so much of what Vicki said, because it was quiet, it was peaceful, it was my kids and I were very much a family. If we wanted recess if I wanted it to cut short or stay a little longer, we could do that. We had lunch together. I drew a floor plan, which I don't know where that's going at this point because I was late, but there was a little room in the back of that side of the building, and that was the playroom. It was just a little room, and so we turned it into a playroom like for inside recess, and it was a reading room. And my husband, I had cut up all these different size blocks, and I still have it. It's a great big container with blocks in it that the kids could play with the blocks. And then I brought in a trunk and took my old prom dresses from high school and brought them in, and the kids played with those. And I'm going to say something a little bit inappropriate, but I think only the boys played with blocks, and I think only the girls wore the dresses at that time. So who knows today? It was just, I remember, one of the things I remember that I have two things to share that are just funny memories. I don't know if you remember this or who did this, but there was a dental program for a period of time. Did you do the dental program? So every day after lunch, the kids would have to brush their teeth, and then they'd rinse their mouth and put their toothbrush in a little cup and put plastic over it to keep it sanitary. And I thought of that recently, and I thought, how much more unsanitary could you get? I don't know how long that program lasted, but I did remember that. And then I remember another little experience where we were having a Thanksgiving dinner, and the parents had prepared this lovely Thanksgiving dinner. And this little boy that I'll never forget, and I won't insult him by saying why, not my favorite memory, but he'd stuffed himself at Thanksgiving dinner, and then he stood up in the middle of the floor and all over the place. So of course, when you're here with your little family, you do all those things. You clean up, you celebrate, you hug, you cry, you do all these different things. And when I moved, and it was like you said also, the whole sense of time in education today it doesn't do justice to the children. They're like fit into little time slots like machines sometimes, and we were a family, we were flexible. I got to know, sometimes I had I can remember different families that I had at least two of their kids. When I was here for Charlotte Megason's celebration a couple of years ago, this older man came up to me. He said, I'm not patting myself on the back, it just cracked me up because he looked like an older man. And he said, Mrs. Netto, you were my favorite teacher. And I said, and I would never, I've had that happen over the years because I've lived in town forever. But I never say, who are you? I just always say, I don't remember your name, what's your name? And he told me his name, and I remembered him vividly, and I had his younger sister. And in fact, his sister teaches in the district now, and I was at UNE 2 weeks ago. I have a therapy dog. He's a trained therapy dog to go out, not for me, but he's trained to go out and go to different places to give therapy to. We go to nursing homes and hospitals and schools, and I was at UNE, and one of the students was asking where I was from, and what I ended up finding out was a young woman sitting there, one of the students. She said, oh, my mother teaches. And I said, oh, who was your mother? And she told me, and I said, I was her first grade teacher. And I also had your uncle in school, who was this man that I was referring to a minute ago. So, the ties that bind are very nice when you've lived in a community for a period of time and you see people's lives come along and their successes and failures and their wonderful things that they've done or have tried to do, and their children. And I wouldn't trade that time here for the world. And just the way it turned out, it was such a good experience.
Oh, thank you.
so much.
Wow. Well, they
Yeah.
didn't take the thing and pull us off yet.
So this is, this is really lovely sharing, and for some of you, it really touches your own history. And for some of us who didn't grow up here, it may touch some history of what we have that, we bring from wherever we did our growing up. Both feeling like we're kind of put into pegs and kind of pushed along, or those situations where we might have had where there was more time, where there was more flexibility, and things are very, very different. But then there was a controversy about this building. There was an odor in the building, and there was an inspector, and again, I am saying what I have read and what I have heard, so how accurate it is the best I can do. And if someone lived through it and wants to tell more, then they can do that too. But it seems like when this building was first built, that there's a slide that is in the slide presentation that I'm working on that will be linked on the library website, so it's going to give you a lot of the background, a lot of details. And if you're interested, you can go to the library website and there'll be a link to the PowerPoint. And there'll also eventually be a link to this recording. But there was a problem with the school, which was located somewhere, and I'm not clear about the students who came to when this was built. There was a problem with the school that they were going to, and it was needing a lot of work, and they said we should just build a new school. But they went back and forth for a year or so. The town meeting voted on this, and then they rescinded it, and then they voted on that, and then they rescinded it. And then they ended up spending close to $7,000 to build this building.
Wow.
6,900 and something, which was $500 over what had been allocated. And so there was a lot of politics, a lot of, education and the town government and taxation coming together. And then all these years later, in the late 80s, there was an odor in the building, and an inspector came, and there was apparently, from what I have heard from a story from a newspaper clipping that doesn't give, people save newspaper clippings and don't necessarily say what the paper was. Was it a Portland paper? Was it a... But the inspector spoke to parents outside, supposedly, and said something that got the parents very upset that their children's safety was on the line, that this was an unhealthy situation. So there was quite a bit of controversy about wanting to close this school. And at that point, there were the two kindergartens, Mrs. Carroll's kindergarten and Mrs. Megason's kindergarten. So there were various meetings, again, a lot of contention. We want them moved right now, or no, we want to go until the end of the school year, and it's not really dangerous. It's and some talk of methane gas, and so it was decided finally that over the Thanksgiving break, they would move.
With open trailers in the rain.
Oh.
I just remembered that.
Yeah, well, you would.
And Mrs. Burke was in the basement here too with the special ed classes.
Okay, so special ed and 2 classrooms. And so my understanding is that you folks moved to the, what do you call the buildings?
The portables.
Portables. The portables had been for specials, as I understand it. So music and art had been in the portables. So kindergarten was moved into the portables, and special ed, I think, was moved into the main building.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that happened over Thanksgiving weekend. That's a challenge. And we have living proof that you can survive.
How do you think I got this gray hair?
Overnight, over one weekend. So at that point, the building was vacant. And so there was a discussion and a lot of legal work done where the town and the Board of the Select Board and the school district, and I don't know if you were involved in that whole, turned the school district turned this property, this building over to the town. And people who we know now, many people know Bob Fay, John Monteith. Ruth, do you remember that name at all? John Monteith? Yeah.
He was on the school board.
Okay, so there was a school board in the town, all right, so I thought he was a select person, so he was on the school board. Okay,
Lions
John,
member too.
a Lions member too,
Yeah.
okay.
But he later became a selectman. I
Okay,
believe.
so he was very involved in the town. The names I have, Dennis Abbott, who was chair of the town council, now was a select board member back then also, and was also a kindergarten student here. And he's the most tardy of the person that I anticipated having up today, so we don't have to tell him that, do we? Yeah. We might ask him, where did you spend Saturday afternoon this week? So anyway, he was kind of a link because he was a student here. He was a select board member when the town took over this building and property from the school department. And Bob Fay, who some of you may remember, was on the select board at that time. And then now we come to Betty Champion, who, how that all happened is a piece that I don't have, but the town now had possession of this property. So what happened next? So Betty Champion, visionary of the library, used to run the store, what's now Kieran Restaurant, and used to, for a lot of people who've come in, the bookmobile used to come around to all these small towns from Augusta, and tons of people would go to the various places where the bookmobile stopped to return. It was a traveling library. When the bookmobile stopped, Betty was aware of how many people in town were getting books, regular readers who needed that service, and said, what can we do? So, Betty.
Well, I was really hoping you wouldn't ask me to talk today, but at 87, things are very fuzzy. The things that I do remember is when we did come into this building, we, of course, cleaned and painted, and my one regret was that someone had painted the alphabet in what's now the children's library, and we really tried to keep that, and that was my one regret that we weren't able to. But since Bridget shared the problem with the smell in the building, I'd also like to share with you that one day when I was at the post office, I got a call from the librarian. I don't remember if it was Ruth, but there was a snake in the basement right outside the door. So I sent the carrier over, John Murray, and he got rid of the snake. And then another time, evidently a squirrel had gone up and gotten into the stink pipe and was in the toilet down here. So there were a few funny little things that happened. And that's about the extent of it for me. Thank you.
Oh, yay! Well, thank you for telling those stories, because I wasn't planning to put you on the spot, but it kind of just seemed like the right thing to do, so appreciate you. And for a lot of people who have come into the library over the years, there's been this portrait of Betty that's been hanging above the adult desk, and people would say, who's that? You know, and why is her picture up there? And there was no identification, so we just had a little plaque made as part of our centennial so that it says a little bit about Betty having a vision of a library in town. So the Lionesses and the Lions got together, and in the slide presentation that will be linked on the website, there are photos that there are a lot of albums here. Before you leave, if you're interested, you may see yourself when you were younger, or you may see your kids, or there's so many memories that are in these albums. As the time has gone on since this became a library, I got involved in the early 2000s, probably 2002 or so. And it was cold in the winter, and it was hot in the summer. And there is someone that I'd really like to give a lot of credit to, and his name is Pete Cody. And he's the maintenance guy for the town. And in the slide presentation, you'll see there's a crawl space. I don't know what do you call it when it's a trapdoor in the ceiling? It's not a crawl space. Anyway, it's a trapdoor in the ceiling up into the attic. Victor, what do you call that?
attic space.
That's a technical
A
term.
trap door going up into it.
Trap door. That's what you need as experts, right? So Pete went up there and he could barely fit up through it, so his first job was to make it a bigger trap door. There was no insulation in the attic, and so that got all, he insulated that all. And then the bathrooms, I mean, the bathroom history is something I'd like to write if I could find people a lot older than me to talk about, because when they started ripping the bathroom apart, they found the 2 holers that were in the back of the 2 classrooms. And back away, and there were concrete things, and then there's a space where they used to dig out the contents from below the 2 holers and take them off. And
Probably
then,
where the smell came from then.
we're getting there. So, the 2 back rooms, so if you use the library, you're probably aware, behind the children's room, we call it the Maggie Taylor Reading Nook. There's a cool little space. Well, that used to be a storage room, and it had hanging wires across the electrical wires, and that back part used to be always leaking in the winter. And the adult room is the official bathroom now, but there were 4 bathrooms originally, and there were two holers, girls and boys. And when we had a gathering about 10 years ago of people who'd been to school there, one person talked about drilling holes through for the boys to peek through to the girls. I don't know what kind of a view they got through a drilled hole, but it was probably an adventure. So then eventually the bathroom situation was changed. I don't know when this one, was this an active bathroom down here when you were having meetings and things here, Bob? No, so that was added later. But, so Pete Cody is working on gutting the 2 rooms in the back of the building, and there's a picture in the slideshow that shows all the insulation that was ever there was down at this level. It had just deteriorated and sunk. There was no insulation on the back of the building, so no wonder the roof, all the heat was going up through, melting, coming down, leaking, and ice dams. And so these are the things over these years since we didn't get to build this new library. This building is in really good shape. The radon amelioration, asbestos covered over. Water has a bit of lead, so we have Poland Springs generosity that we have for drinking water. So anyway, when Pete was tearing apart the bathroom on this side, he found this pipe, and he and Doug Foglio, for folks who know folks around town, discovered that there was, and I don't know what to call it, you said the stink pipe, and some pipe that was not capped. It was not capped. That was the smell. And for all the years I was a trustee, for about the first 10 years, different times of the year we'd say, God, there must be a dead animal under here somewhere, because it would stink. And it was that pipe. And it's never smelled again. You were a librarian at that point, right, Ruth?
Yeah, we had a couple days we had to close.
And Jean. Yeah, you had to close, and then Glenn Charette, who became the new CEO, actually closed the whole building for a while. So we have had adventures, but this is now a building with new windows, new roof. It's in great shape. So, while we still want a new library, we're doing really well with what we have. And who I haven't introduced at all is CARSTAF Director Julie Hoyle, who has been here, 5, 6?
7.
7 years, yay! So 2006, 7, 8, the people aforementioned, the Friends of the Library, worked very, 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 very hard to build that new library. And there are a few slides that you'll see in the presentation about Victor Wright, who is a copper fabricator, I call only did the top of the whole State House in Augusta, right? Yeah, he does small jobs like that, way out high. Anyway, his shop completely got cleared out and turned into a ballroom. And we had what we called a gala. And it was fancy. It was, for Waterboro, it was really fancy. And we had wonderful times raising money. We had federal earmarks. We had support of Susan Collins and Shelley Pingree. Shelley Pingree was at the gala. And we were moving, and then the economy tanked, federal earmarks were canceled. If we had been 2 or 3 years ahead of ourselves, we would have a library down near the middle school, right on Route 5, where for many years there was a big green and white sign saying future site of Waterboro Library. And then after that, another effort came forth to combine the rec department and the library to build a community center. And there's a committee that was working on that, and then COVID hit, and I'm not sure, I was not in that particular effort. So that came to a halt, and I don't know if that's even still considered a committee or not. But Waterboro has great need for our youth, for our adults, to come together in various ways, educational ways, sports ways, activity, learning, lifelong learning, and I am a huge advocate for that, and I do dream that we will have a site for those kinds of things to happen. And in the meantime, we have this, which is so full of life, of knitters and genealogists and readers and researchers and crafters, and we could just go on and on and on what happens here. And so I really want to thank all of you for being interested enough to come here. And my hope is that we'll have a newly activated Friends of the Waterboro Library of parents, of adults, of young people to work. We have a board of trustees, and we have an auction each year. We have book sales each year. Those are all raising money for extra kinds of services and materials and all for the library here. But it would be great to have an active group, Friends of the Waterboro Library group. So I hope that you who are interested enough to be here today will give that a little bit of thought. And if you see a call going out when you check out books, it's like, okay, Friends of the Library meeting coming up, just be aware of that. And if you have any time at all that you'd like to go into building this library, we'd love to have you. So are there any comments or questions or thoughts or you'd like to share before we eat this almost oh, what am I doing? Oh, I'm doing pretty well, you know, I have remembered almost everything. So I think it would be very cool. This is a plaque that, I don't know if any of you know Tammy Jo Gerard, who lives in North Waterboro, who has a shop called Brown Dog Originals. And she fabricated both the little plaque that's on Betty's photo and this most wonderful plaque.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Isn't that really beautiful?
It is.
Oh, that's very
Very nice.
And it says, celebrating 100 years, East Waterboro Elementary School, built in 1925, Waterboro Public Library since 1990, going strong in 2025. Yes.
Nice.
Very nice.
And I think it would really be cool if Betty would present this to Julie. Would you mind?
I prefer not to.
Oh, then, okay, so it's not the original line, how about Bob, school to library again?
Somebody else do it.
Oh,
One of the
those
teachers
people.
do it.
Yeah, that's
How
a
about
good
you two?
suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Stand-
What are we gonna do?
Yeah, stand up, I'll pose you.
Bridget's directing.
Yes. There you go, and then Julie.
Yes.
You wanna come between us? Do you wanna come between us?
What do you come between us? Only in a good way.
Okay, great, and I'll stand in the background. Yay.
Terrific.
We would like to present this to you in honor of all the memories that we all have of this wonderful building, and that you keep it going and do such a wonderful job with it.
Thank you, we appreciate it. It's for everybody. I'm really happy to be part of it. And it's beautiful, and this is the picture that also Bridget had put on our cake. So I hope you'll stay to just chat and tell stories, maybe look at some photos, write some memories if you see something. There's some pens on the table, coffee and some cider. And thank you all for joining us. It's really been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Julie. And we have T-shirts. We have Centennial T-shirts.
They're awesome.
We thank Tammy Jo Gerard for her donation to all this. Jen Abbott from RSD Graphics who did the incredible graphics on the T-shirts. They're $15. They're different sizes. They're white with graphics on the front and the back. Check them out. And I just want to show you this cake while you're all together because it is Hannaford. It's the plaque. And I'm not going to tilt it any more than that because I don't want to end up with it on the floor. But isn't that amazing? It's called a photo cake. Who would have thought? Okay, everybody, let's give a cheer for everything. Yay! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Water, cake. Oh, did you have any questions or comments? Anybody want to say something?
I just want to say 3 cheers for the Lionesses for starting.
Oh, absolutely. Yay for the Lionesses. Any other cheers? Cheers for the cake. Okay, thanks everybody.